Hi everyone, and welcome to Tonkean's product webinar. My name is Brett Lee. I am the VP of Product Marketing for Tonkean, and I'm joined today by my colleague Roy O'Brien, who is our Head of Solutions. We're here today to talk about how you can leverage Tonkean to overcome many of the challenges that you face in improving processes and your operations and legal. I'm going to set the context with just a few slides and then turn it over to Rory for a live product demonstration. Today, your options for improving operations falls into these three buckets. Number one, you can buy new applications, and there's a lot of new legal tech being built, a lot of modern applications. You could write custom code, either going to engineering or IT or some kind of consulting firm to help you build that solution. Or you could change the process. And even if you're buying new apps and writing custom code, by the way, you're also likely having to manage some type of change in getting people to adopt the new solutions that you have. Now, in each of these things, there are challenges. With buying new apps, because these are packaged solutions, it always requires you to customize it in some way to fit your unique needs, and then you have to integrate it back into your current environment. It forces people to learn yet another app, and that's easier said than done, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, especially when you're working with lawyers who don't want to change, or working with other teams where they're not necessarily prioritizing the legal processes that you have to deal with. And there's inefficient tech spend. The more apps that you have, the more complexity that it has. And if you're buying applications for a subset of the functionality that it provides, naturally you're paying more than you should for the value that you're getting. Writing custom code would be nice because it gives you the flexibility to deliver something that is specifically tailored towards your own needs. However, you have limited access to development resources. It becomes hard to maintain, especially when you're dealing with resources outside of legal, and increases the technology that you have. And then finally, managing process change is commonly seen as the top challenge with legal improvement and legal innovation, because people are naturally resistant to change. You have to manage this change across functions, and it's hard to get people to follow through. If you think about something as simple as a legal intake form, you're going to get people that don't know how to follow the process and end up sending an email to your legal inbox for you to have to triage that. And so getting people to follow through on that process change is also incredibly challenging. And underpinning all of this is the reliance that you all have on IT and engineering, and the outcomes and the priorities that you each have may not always be aligned. Where you're looking for speed, flexibility, and the ability to satisfy your specific needs, IT and engineering are looking for things like governance and security and standardization across the organization, and that frequently comes into conflict. And so this request and solution loop ends up having you kind of shackled and slowing the pace of innovation that you have, because again, limited resources, high costs, and if you rely on custom code, no reusability across code, and lengthy projects. And so there needs to be a new paradigm where you're not going to be able to completely remove the dependency on IT and engineering, but how do you become more self-sufficient so that you can have more agility and more flexibility to improve the processes that you have in legal? And that is what I want to introduce you to you today, which is this concept of NoCode Automation. And namely, it's a platform that legal operations can own and manage yourself with IT support and IT blessing behind the scenes, but gives you a lot more flexibility and self-sufficiency to be able to automate the processes or to orchestrate the processes in your environment. And that is exactly what Tonkean provides. So Tonkean is an adaptive business operations platform. You can think about us as an abstraction layer on top of your existing technology stack that allows you to define and build complex processes without having to write a single line of code. So here's how it works. Behind the scenes, Tonkean connects to all the existing tools that you already have in your environment, whether that's packaged solutions, custom solutions, collaboration platforms, which I know are very important for legal, like Slack and email and Teams, etc., as well as databases. And basically, IT can define the rules at which legal operations has access to these specific solutions. What actions, how much access, those type of things. And so you can create a safe environment where IT can trust to hand you the keys to be able to build any solutions that you want on top of it. Right. From there, Tonkean creates an abstraction layer. With a no-code workflow builder, you can now use Tonkean to define a custom process that you want in legal, interacting with all of the existing tools that you already have, right? So you can build a solution like legal intake that is connected to Salesforce and Slack and email without forcing people to go into a form. All of that without code, and all of it with your specific business rules and business logic that you have. In addition, we have a number of different advanced capabilities that makes building complex processes much easier. So things like human-centric. We have people coordination to allow you to interact with people in a more logical way. Maintaining context of a process, abstracting how the data is related to each other, as well as things like natural language processing and optical character recognition. So all of this is to say, Tonkean makes it easy for you to build complex processes on top of the existing systems without having to write a single line of code. And the benefits that you gain from that are huge. Number one, it makes it very easy for you to work across domains because now you can have legal processes being kicked off from systems that are sales owned, like your CRM, or HR owned, like the HR portal, et cetera, et cetera. You reduce a lot of IT dependency because once IT and engineering sets up the safe environment where they give you the right permissions and the right access and all of those things, you can then run by yourself. You don't need to go back to IT every single time to update a solution that they've built. There's no change management or very little change management because now with Tonkean flexibly integrating with all the different tools that people like to use, and you overlay the fact that we have AI to actually learn individual behavior, people don't actually have to stop using the tools that they already have, even though you're improving the process, right? So a very common use case for us, for example, I mentioned legal intake, is the ability for people to maintain the tools that they're already using, whether that's email or Slack or other systems, to submit requests to legal without forcing them to go into a new app or a new form in order to make that request. And then finally, we specialize in working with enterprises. And so our security, our best practices of building, robust, mission critical processes are all there in the platform already, and making it very easy for you to actually deliver something that has all the requirements that your enterprise actually needs. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rory to show you a live product demonstration. Go ahead and take it away.
Hey, thanks, Brett. Really appreciate it. So what I'd like to do today is give you a walkthrough of the Tonkean platform. So the screen you're seeing here is called the Ops Modules page. Now, Tonkean is comprised of three core components. The Ops Modules page, which is where all your workflows are, which is really the engine of Tonkean. And then we have the data sources where you connect all of your different systems. Then there's the live reports, which is more of a managerial dashboard where you can tell the operational health of your processes at hand. So what you see here on the screen is a bunch of rectangles and a bunch of boxes. So these smaller boxes here are the actual op modules, and they are individual flows that have their own data sources, they have their own triggers, they have their own actions, and they have all of their own logic. When you look at the larger rectangle, this is a solution. And that's how we think about solving business problems holistically at Tonkean is a solution is comprised of many different workflows, of many different teams, of many different people and data sources, all either working together or kind of in their own workflows to solve a holistic operational problem. So, talking from kind of a legal world, there's many different teams that you work for. So, right, you might need to have a different solution for how you work with different teams. Maybe there's a specific module of how you take marketing requests from legal versus sales. Maybe there's a general inbox where you need to do some OCRing on some PDFs or some documents that come in and you need to put them in specific folders. Or maybe there's, sales contracts and different legal matters that deal with sales, and they have their own workflow. The way we think about solutions is kind of, who is going to be the makers, right? So who are the people, we call them makers, who are actually going to be in Tonkean building these workflows? and what data sources are you connecting. Obviously, you wouldn't want a Workday or like an HR system in the sales solution because you wouldn't want those people seeing HR data. So that's kind of also how we separate every workflow and every business process based on some of those criterias. Now, what's more important actually when we talk about makers is the user interface that you're seeing here is not what the end user sees. Your lawyers aren't going to be in here. Your sales team isn't going to be in here. Your marketing team isn't going to be in here. They are going to continue to live in their CRMs, their CLMs, their ERPs, their spreadsheets, their inbox, Slack, Microsoft Teams. We are not introducing a new user interface for the end users. The interface you're seeing here is specifically for the makers who are building these modules. Now let's actually jump into one of these modules. We'll go into account, legal documents, requests. Now you'll see a bunch of boxes here. Now, since Tonkean is very human-oriented, we read everything left to right in Tonkean, and Tonkean always needs to be monitoring a data source. In this case, this is Salesforce, specifically all accounts. This could be a spreadsheet, this could be a form, this could be a DocuSign envelope, it can be a Google Drive folder, it could really be anything you want. What's important to know is Tonkean is just always monitoring that for changes and for the business criteria that's important and specific to you. Now, for this specific module, the overall premise is monitoring requests from salespeople when maybe they need an MSA or an NDA or any other legal document for the specific account that they're trying to sell to. So over on the right is really where you see all of the different boxes and the different logos, and these are what we call our triggers and actions. Now, since we are 100% no code, there isn't anywhere you can actually put code in Tonkean, so it's really just about dragging and dropping all of these boxes. And more specifically, if we actually jump into kind of the nitty-gritty a little bit, in order to have different sets of actions, you need different triggers. So you have your match conditions that are based on custom logic to you, right? If a date range is greater than this, if Boolean is true or false, if this condition is that, these are all the conditions that are important to you that you want to take action on. We also can monitor specific fields. So in this case, we are monitoring maybe all of the fields or some of the fields that you want to take action on in your Salesforce environment. And then we also have native forms as well. So really what this is saying is we want Tonkean to always be monitoring this specific field called legal documents in Salesforce. So any changes that are added there, what we also want to do is based on if this field has been actually edited, is create a folder for this specific account if it doesn't already exist. Or if it does exist, we just want to update it. And then what we're going to do is we're actually just going to create templates that already exist in Google Drive, and we're going to take data from Salesforce, that account field or that account object in Salesforce, and just fill out an NDA, fill out an MSA that's already templatized, fill out a DPA that's already templatized, so that we're doing some of the heavy lifting for that legal person or for that legal team. And then what we're going to do is, obviously there's probably going to need to be some customization, or maybe there's a very specific rule set where you want to say, if an account has this many opportunities, or if it's tagged as tier 1 or premium or what have you, we don't want to just create an NDA and send it off. There's probably some massaging that we need to do to that. So we really just want to escalate it to a person or to a team. So in this case, what we're saying is, hey, we created this NDA for this specific account, and it's meeting specific criteria where the revenue is greater than 100,000, or it has greater than employees, or any of the other custom business logic is important to you. And we want to send this to the Slack channel legal and just give them like, hey, this has been requested. Can you edit this? And if it looks good, approve it. We can also assign like, I'll handle it. Really, these can be anything you want, because we're just creating these buttons that are very, very custom to you. So if someone were to say, approve it, what that would do is say, okay, great. The status is now approved. Now what we can do is we can generate a PDF of any of the edits that they've done to that NDA that we created, PDF it, and then just send it in DocuSign. Add an envelope, add the document, and then send it off. And that sending it off could be to the person who's the primary account holder, or it could be maybe you put a form in here and ask this person like who it should be sent to. But really what we're doing is just kind of taking a lot of of that off of the plate of the legal person, and also keeping and closing the loop for the salesperson who actually requested those documents to begin with. Now, before I jump in and actually kind of show you what it looks like, is I want to show you all the different actions that you have in Tonkean. So again, I just click this plus button, another box comes up, and what you'll see is a lot more actions over here. Right, so we've got kind of 3 different ones. We've got our regular data actions. These are, like you see over here, creating a new DocuSign envelope, maybe creating a Zendesk ticket, a Google Drive folder, updating records in Salesforce. Any of the data sources that you have connected and all of their native actions can all be utilized over here throughout the flow. And then we also have workflow specific actions where we do NLP and native OCR. So if you need to read through documents and take action on them based on specific criteria, you can do that. And then more importantly, the biggest differentiator is the people coordination component. As you saw here, when humans need to get involved in a process, we easily are able to get them involved in the process in a very frictionless way. Maybe that's reaching out to them via email or via Slack or Microsoft Teams or Chatter for that matter in Salesforce if you're using that. We don't really care where this person wants to live. We will go and find them. We can also send specific forms. We can ask for next steps, ask for specific information anywhere throughout the flow here, so that, if there are ever times when you do need human input or you need human to make a decision, to not break down the process, you can easily put that here and then continue on with the flow after that person has answered the question. So that's really, really important to know, because that's a very asynchronous way of doing things. Humans are very random. Maybe they're going to respond in a minute. Maybe they're going to respond in a day. Maybe they're going to respond in 10 days. Tonkean doesn't care when they're going to do it, because Tonkean is always going to be remembering the status of every specific item that's in your flow. And it will be continually reaching out to those relevant people throughout the process on their specified medium of choice, email, Slack, Microsoft Teams, etc. So as you can see here, we can also be very proactive, right? NDAs expire after 365 days. We can say that, hey, this NDA document was modified or created at X time. And if it's older than 365 days, we can archive it. Maybe we send a notification to the chatter feed in Slack, and then we send a notification to the account owner of that specific account, and then take further action. So really, it's like completely up to you. But again, it's just moving boxes and putting in the specific business criteria that's important to you. So if I were to go in here and just click on this, and let's say I want to add an MSA, click Save. What this is doing behind the scenes is actually going through in Tonkean, and it's going to say that, hey, this changed. It looks like we need to create I think it was a DPA that I just asked for. So it's going to actually go into sales demo here, and it's going to actually bring up the newly created document for Acme. So you see documents generated, great. We asked for the DPA, and now we've got a DPA, and if I actually click on this, it'll open up that document that actually has, Acme Inc. It's bringing this from Salesforce, and like any of the other data that's very specific to you for this template, it will just add all of it in there for you, so that your legal team can go in here and do the actual work that humans need to do without the need to go and copy and create and paste data from Salesforce, etc. And then again, it's all coming in just via Slack, or this could be an email. And again, it's just clicking buttons, and then regular collaboration can be happening in here. And you can also have all of this collaboration that's happening in Slack not get lost like it usually does. And maybe you want to post this always back into the chatter feed, so that this account always has this important information that is actually happening when you're collaborating with your teammates back in Salesforce. So the very, very last thing I want to show you, just because we don't have enough time to go through all the fun bells and whistles, is lastly just the live reports, just a quick view of it. Again, this is kind of your Excel reporting on steroids. It's got all of your important metadata from your different systems, from your different people actions or inactions. It has like bite-sized, updates of all of your specific items of who the owners are, the due dates, their various statuses. And more importantly, we're able to roll up what we call key metrics based on the process at hand. So you can actually roll up and, say, this is a different module, but, how many open legal requests do I have? How many NDAs have we handled this week, day, month, etc.? What's our average time for, an open legal ticket to close? Again, this is just your counts, your sums, your regular kind of Excel formulas all rolled up. But since we have all of the data integrated from all of your different systems and all of your people and their actions, we're able to amass all of that together and actually put together metrics that show the health of your various processes. So with that was a lot of information in a very short time. Would love to open it up for questions and answer anything that is on your mind. So thank you.